column average time of process per machine. Okay, so we have activity table which have 4 columns: machine ID integer type, process ID integer type, activity type enum type, timestamp float type. Okay, this is the row: machine ID, process ID, activity type is start and end, and timestamp. Okay, so there is a factory website that has several machines, each running the same number of processes. Write a solution to find the average time each machine takes to complete a process. Okay, so the time to complete a process is the end timestamp minus the start timestamp. Okay, so we are going to uh, uh, minus the start timestamp from the end timestamp. Okay, the average time is calculated by the total time to complete every process on the machine divided by the number of processes that were run. Okay, so we have 4 rows for each machine ID, which has 2 process IDs 0 and 1, and each process ID has 2 activity types, that is start and end, and each activity type has the timestamp associated with it. So what we need to do, we need to minus the start timestamp from the end timestamp for each process type for each machine ID, and we need to sum the timestamp for each machine ID, the average sum, and we need to find the average of it, like let's say the timestamp of the sum of timestamp for one machine ID is 5, so we need to divide it by the total number of process IDs each machine ID has. Okay, so let's try. Select machine ID. What we need to do is that let's say we have one machine that is 0, and we need to sum the activity type start timestamp, and we need to sum the activity type and timestamp, and after that we will minus the end the start from the end. So let's say select machine ID, sum case when activity type is equals to end, then time stamp and as end. Let's say this column end, and let's copy the whole and we will call it start. Just a little modification, the activity type will be start. So now what we have done is we have grouped the data for each machine type, and we have summed the end timestamp and the sum and the start timestamp. Okay, so let's query it from the activity table to see how the output is coming. Group by machine ID. Okay. Oh, B is repeated. Okay, so we have machine and the sum of end and the sum of start. So let's do one more thing. Let's count the number of processes. Count process ID. One more thing is you can see that for each process ID we have that let's say for 0 we have start and end. So we need to divide the process ID, count a process ID with 2, because it will be repeated by 2 more columns, 2 more, because for each process ID it will count 2. Like we have let's say we have this process ID 0, it will be counted as 2, and this process 0 will be counted as 2. So we will get 4, because machine ID 0 0 0, machine ID 0 1 1. So the process we are counting the process IDs. So there are 4 process IDs for each machine type. So we need to divided by 2 because we are considering only the process ID, not the activity types. So we have only two process IDs, that is 0 and 1. So we are dividing it by 2 and naming it as processes. Okay. So let us see if it is working or not. Yeah, it is working fine now. So what we need to do is that it is already mentioned here that we need to process the time to complete the process is the end timestamp minus the start timestamp. So what we will do now, we will simply minus the start from the end. Okay, and we will name it as process. As processing time. So let's run this. Okay, so we have the processing time and the number of processes too. So we will simply divide it by the number of processes for each processing time. With the help of this one, we are going to simply divide this. Just in case, I should put a bracket here. Okay, and this. Okay, so now we will get the average processing time for each machine ID. Yeah. Okay, so our solution is correct. All we need is just round the processing time to 3 decimal digits. So we can use a round function here. Round, comma 3, and as processing time. So let's submit this. I hope it will be accepted. Yeah, it is accepted now. Our solution is correct. So let's submit the solution. Yeah, so as you can see, our solution is submitted now and it is accepted also.